Good morning and welcome to Order Up, the Final Order Cutoff show. Today we're going to be talking about the books that are on FOC this Monday, May 11th, 2026. A lot of continuing series and a lot of series we haven't seen in quite a while. So definitely worth paying attention to. Well, we also talk about some new, amazing, and topical comics with our incredible guest. So do not miss out. Stay tuned. After this opener, we have some great comics to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Mathias Lewis, and I'm here to talk to you about FOC, or Final Order Cutoff. It is the last chance that we, the comic retailers, have to finalize our orders for comics releasing roughly 3 to 6 weeks out from the Mondays we finalize our orders. We deal with this every Monday, but this is important to you, the consumer, because it is the perfect time to reach out to your local comic shop if you want any specific or guaranteed items. If you want the Jim Lee or Dan Mora covers of Justice League Unlimited, reach out to your local comic shop and let us know. If you want the new issue of Lilo and Stitch, this is the perfect time to tell us. Because as long as you can get us the orders before Monday at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, that will give your local comic shop retailer enough time to finalize that order, adding in whatever it is you want, so they can guarantee when it releases, we have a copy set aside waiting for you. So, always reach out to your local comic shop before 6 p.m. on Mondays with the comics you want. The sooner, the better, to guarantee they're waiting for you. All right, and this week we're talking about comics that are on Final Order Cutoff Monday, May 11th. It's going to be a very fun one because we're going to see a lot of titles that have just been absent from not only the new release wall, but FOC for quite some months. Are you ready to see a return of things like Distillery and Magic the Gathering Elspeth?
Those two things are so very different.
I tried.
I'm excited for the return of Distillery because I need to know what happens in, White House Robot Romance or whatever, which has been, it feels like a year since it's come out.
Almost.
Yeah, and I listen. I was a mono black Magic player. I've hated Elspeth for a long time, so I'm not interested in mana on that one. But when they do a mono black Magic the Gathering series, then I'll be excited for the return of that.
All right, so we'll keep you in mind when Liliana returns.
There we go. Ooh, yeah.
There it is. All right. Well, in the meantime, let's remind everyone exactly where they can find all of the books that are on FOC before we invite our guest on. All right. If you're a fan of Marvel, Distillery, Boom Studios, Ignition Press, Dark Horse, IDW, and others, you're going to want to find all of the books that they are currently distributing through Penguin Random House at prhcomics.com. As you can see on the website on screen, prhcomics.com emphasizes the importance of FOC right there on their homepage. Clicking this wonderful link right here with the date of FOC right there will bring you to this section of the website. There you'll find all of the books that are on Final Order Cutoff this Monday, May 11th. We always recommend sorting it A to Z just to make life a little bit easier. And you'll even get to see a little bit of DC, which the trade paperbacks, hardcovers, and collected editions are FOC'd. But if you want to see all the main comics, the DC Image Comics, Oni Press, Dynamite and more are offering. They're not going to be available on prhcomics.com. There, you're going to want to check out lunardistribution.com, one of the main distributors that handles those wonderful publishers. Lunardistribution.com will bring you to a website looking just like this, because it is this website, and you can scroll down a little bit to upcoming FOC. Make sure you're clicking on the right date, May 11th, right there, and you'll see all the incredible books that are on FOC over at lunardistribution.com. I will say, I have never felt so close to passing out as I am right here. I am so tired, but we're going to stick through it. I'm going to get an energy burst because I think we can bring on an amazing guest that will keep me lively and awake. What do you think?
I think that when he announced Tankers originally, the commercial that they made kept me awake through many of the long hours of launching this channel, because they're one of our first advertisers. So, like, I'm pretty confident that's true.
All right.
No pressure, guys. I got to keep you guys awake. I don't know. It's not.
There it is.
Not what I'm known for.
Well, I think at this point you're known as the man of bad ideas, because you're writing what, like 80-90% of this publisher's incredible comics.
Yeah, like I know it seems that way maybe, but a lot of the stuff that's coming out is stuff that I wrote over a long span of time. Bad Idea in the past has kind of had this model where they'll publish a slate of books and then, go on hiatus and build more content and things, right? And so a lot of stuff I wrote during that hiatus, and it's just kind of all coming out at once, which is great. Like I love the opportunity to be on the shelves like that, but I'm not sitting there writing all these things month to month. That'd be a pretty crazy workload. So, but there's a lot of books I know they've got in the pipeline that other people are building right now, from a lot of really good writers, people like Josh Dysart, and I don't know if I should name some of the other ones because I don't know what's been announced and what hasn't, but there's a lot of things going on in the background too. So, yeah, but it's a fun time to be there, fun time to be working for them.
Well, and it also becomes a topical time because, well, it may not be a fun time to be somebody who has to fill their gas tank up with oil right now from everything going on in the Middle East. You have a solution that you wrote in comic form a short while ago via Tankers.
Yeah, Tankers is about mercenaries in mech suits who work for Greenleaf Oil, which is a big oil company that invented time travel to send them back in time to divert the comet that killed the dinosaurs, so to go around one more time before it hits. And that way there'll be more dinosaurs. More dinosaurs in the past means more oil in the present. And who doesn't love that, right? So that's kind of the tongue-in-cheek driving plot of the first series that we did. That was one of the first wave of Bad Idea books. I want to say it was 2021, maybe that one came out. And that's when we shot the commercial that that Kyle was just talking about. But the new series now catches up with them in the wake of what happened in the events of that. And that series is called Tankers versus Ancient Aliens. I think the first one comes out in July? June? When in June? Yeah.
Yeah, June 17th. Oh,
yeah, June. It's only May. Yeah. First one comes out in June. And also they're doing a trade paperback collection of the first series as well, too. So
yes, indeed. The trade paperback for the original series from 5 years ago comes out on June. I have it right here, June 10th. And then Tankers versus Ancient Aliens also comes out that exact same day. So you can double down on your oil dip with Tankers, the trade paperback. 5 years since that originally came out, and it is more relevant now than it ever has been. And then we get to dive in with something that makes me want to just put my hair on edge and hop on the History Channel, Tankers versus Ancient Aliens.
Yeah, so, boy, I guess I'd have to spoil a little bit of what happens in the first series. But for Tankers versus Ancient Aliens, our team of 6 mercenaries are now stuck in prehistoric times, and there's no way for them to get home. That's where they end up at the end of the first series. So they're stranded back in the time of the dinosaurs now. So this new series picks up with them having made a life for themselves. They got their own little outpost they're living out of, and they're just doing their thing. But then, lo and behold, ancient aliens arrive and have settled in the prehistoric past as well. And so the aliens aren't expecting the tankers to be there. The tankers aren't expecting the aliens to be there. And so, in addition to all the crazy dinosaurs, land, sea, and air that the tankers are dealing with, they now have ancient aliens as well. So,
Yeah, I mean, this is an out there concept that just I can't imagine was ever truly economically sound for this oil company. But to throw in the added curveball of ancient aliens, I really have to ask, where did this idea come from? Where did
um,
all of these, wild concepts drive
sure,
out of?
sure. So, yeah, with all the projects I do, I always try to come at them with a different tone, a different voice, a different genre or something to, always kind of get me outside my comfort zone. I'm always challenging myself as a writer rather than do the same thing over and over and over and over and over. I think even if you look at my DC work, my approach to Hawkman is very different than my approach to Green Lantern is very different than my approach to Superman, right? And so I'm always trying to do different things. And Tankers is very much set in that, very muscular, very action heavy, but also, a bit, boisterous and tongue in cheek, So these are obviously absurd situations and absurd solutions to problems and things like that. But everybody in the series does not know any of this is absurd. It's all played completely straight, and so that's the reality that they're dealing in. And so it's kind of fun to write in something like that as opposed to something that's much more grounded and realistic, like something like Ordained or something like that, where now you can just kind of open yourself up to, just crazy concepts and, genre mashups like, tankers and ancient aliens and things like that. And so it's really just born out of that, kind of following, the story as you wrote it. You put yourself in the mindset of that world and what are the things you can do that come out from that, and that's really kind of the big thing about serialized comics, whatever the story is. You get yourself in that position. It's X-O Man of War, it's Green Lantern, it's whatever, and then what are the possible things you can do in this scenario that kind of think outside the box and start pulling on those threads.
All right. So do you think this idea is going to lead to your exit of comics and into consulting for the oil companies?
I hope not.
Okay.
Yeah, so I like being in comics. I like where I'm at. But I don't know, man. I'm sure that payday is pretty good. So we'll see what happens.
All right. So one thing I have to bring up that I think is very unique, Tankers versus Ancient Aliens looks amazing. But part of the things that looks amazing with our orders as we get to Final Order Cutoff this Monday is you have a different book as the ratio variant on Tankers versus Ancient Aliens #1. If stores order 100 copies, there seems to be a variant called All My Friends Are Flowers.
Ah, okay. This is news to me.
Oh, so you don't.
I mean, I know what that book is, but I didn't know it was a ratio variant or whatever, anything like that. But yeah, I don't get involved in the pub plan stuff. So, but yeah. So, what'd you say? If you order 100 copies, you get a copy of All My Friends Are Flowers. Is that what you said?
Indeed. So, can you
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about All My Friends Are Flowers?
Yeah, absolutely. So, All My Friends Are Flowers is my first time working with Mannix. Just an absolutely, again, you can see, different art style, different book, different approach, And so it's my first time working with him. It is a story about a doctor, a scientist, who's also trapped in the past with the 6 tankers. So there's 7 people altogether. And he was kind of the mastermind behind the whole time travel going into the past and whatever. He gets stranded back there with them. And so we get to follow that character on an adventure, who's a character that we don't really ever follow in the main series. He's always present. He's there in the action and things, but he doesn't really have an arc in the way a lot of the other characters do. In this story, we get to follow him, and it's my first collaboration with Mannix, who's absolutely phenomenal and has led to other stories that we've done with him. We have one coming out that I co-wrote with my good friend Brockton McKinney that Mannix drew called Dingoliath, and that's a story that'll be out in July. And then there's more stories that we've done set in that same sort of creature universe that Brock and I and Mannix are building. And so All My Friends Are Flowers are where that started. And once I saw, kind of Mannix's approach to story and how he approaches the page, the information he's able to convey with, a very sort of economical line, really opened us up to what we were able to do in some of these other stories as well. So super fun comic. It's the kind of comic that really speaks to my beginnings in the industry, working for Top Shelf on the independent comic scene. This has more of a feeling like that. Hank Howard probably does as well, right? And so I grew up loving those things, really having an admiration for those kinds of stories. And so this is an opportunity for me to kind of work with Mannix and Brock and tell those kinds of things.
All right. Well, you mentioned Dingoliath, and I want to always remind anyone who's watching, it is never too early to let your comic shop know when you want a comic. So Dingoliath is a one-shot that we are FOCing June 1st. It releases on the 1st of July. Can you tell us, is this set in the world of tankers? What is the story of Dingoliath?
Yeah, no, it's not a tanker story, but that collaboration with Mannix is what led to doing these stories. And so Dingoliath is the first. I don't know that any of the others have been announced, so I won't name them. But more than Dingoliath are already done, completely finished. But Dingoliath is the start of a sort of a old school B movie creature feature type genre of stories that Brock and I are both huge fans of. If you remember, like you had Jaws and then you had Alligator. You know what I'm saying? Like this is like swimming in that alligator zone, And but with Mannix's art, which just has so much charm to it, and so Dingoliath is exactly like he sounds. He is a Goliath giant dingo, mutated in the Australian outback, and he has an owner who is up to some nefarious things. And the owner is a bad guy to everybody in the world except Dingoliath. He loves them; they're best friends. People arrive and kill the owner, and so now Dingoliath is on a revenge path to avenge the owner that he loves, but everybody else wanted to see dead. So it's a really fun project to be able to work on. Like I say, it leads into another one after that. We have another one after that, and there's a fourth one that I hope we get to do that will be sort of experimental as well. So one of the things I like working with Bad Idea, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, is the part about me being able to work and wanting to work in different genres and do different things and test myself as a writer and get outside my comfort zone. Bad Idea is a publishing house that really does do a bunch of different genres and things, and I don't know where else I'd be able to do Tankers versus Ancient Aliens, Dingoliath, Ordained, Hank Howard and Warbird all at the same time. Like those are all massively different stories in almost every way, So it's a lot of fun to be able to work there and be able to work with a publisher that allows for that kind of creativity,
Absolutely. I mean, and then on top of that, fun things like glow-in-the-dark covers that will be available on Dingoliath. So a lot of options that we'll talk about as we get closer to FOC on June 1st on that. But if it sounds fun, let your local comic shop know you're interested. But you're doing a lot of different genres, and one of the ones is Hank Howard. Issue number 1 just dropped on this past Wednesday of A Slice of Life, very fitting pizza pun. And we have issue number 2 on FOC this Monday. Can you remind everyone what Hank Howard, Pizza Detective, A Slice of Life is about?
Sure. Hank Howard, Pizza Detective is just like he sounds. He is a store detective for a large Chuck E. Cheese style pizza chain that's a national chain. He investigates crimes that happen within the store, very noir storytelling. It's black and white art. David Lapham, who everybody knows from his genius on Stray Bullets, which is one of the all-time great crime series, So it's very very noir, very grounded. He's got the fedora, he's got the trench coat, it's got the interior monologue and things, and he investigates these crimes as though they're the most serious things in the world, but everybody else hasn't really taken the crime as much. So what I wanted to do is, if I could tie it into Edgar Allan Poe, because I always liked the idea after I read The Telltale Heart when I was younger of an unreliable narrator, a narrator whose voice we hear, but we don't know if we can trust him all the time, and that's kind of where Hank Howard was born out of, the desire to do that, along with my own personal experiences working in pizza restaurants and things. Slice of Life has Hank Howard go. He lives in Hollywood, Florida, but he goes in this story to Tampa, which is where he was born, and we sort of see his beginnings. And he goes there for his grandmother's funeral, and we learn about what his family is like, why pizza is so important to him, why it's such a personal thing. And it's actually one of the most personal stories I've done. Like, a lot of the elements of Hank Howard are things from my own life, And so the response to the series has been really amazing. I wrote the original 8-pager as just kind of a one-off, and I thought it'd be a funny short. And now here we are, probably 200, 300 pages of story later, and still going strong. We have, more that are going to continue to keep coming out. And the response to it, I really, really enjoyed seeing it, because it's something that is very atypical. It's not what I'm usually known for. It's not really something that you see a lot of in the medium. And because I wouldn't even call it satire, like, it's very personal and it's very serious. It just revolves around something that seems like it's not important, but the things that are really important to people aren't always important to everybody, And so the response to it has been really, really good. And, as I've started out the convention season this year and done a couple of shows, I get more people that come up to me and talk to me about Hank Howard than I do Superman, So it's crazy. But I love it. I hope I get to keep doing them,
That is beautiful. So correct me if I'm wrong. Is this part of the Hero Trade universe too?
We did do a story for a Kickstarter that we did, and I don't know what the plans are for that to be printed, but where we crossed over with Hero Trade. So Hank Howard interacts with a character from the Hero Trade, which I guess I'll tell you a little bit about. That character's a speedster, and Hank Howard interacts with them as they're out making their deliveries. Their sort of cover, their daily planted job is to be a delivery person for Hank Howard's pizza chain, because that allows them to be all over the city and always have a reason to be there. Like, oh, I was delivering a pizza, And so they cross paths, So it's not set in the Hero Trade universe, I wouldn't say, nor is the Hero Trade universe set in the Hank Howard, but those two storylines intersect for that story. Yeah.
I love it. So you can go out right now and get Hank Howard Pizza Detective, A Slice of Life issue number 1, just out this week, and FOC issue number 2 before Monday. That wraps up A Slice of Life, but that doesn't wrap up the story for Hank Howard, because he has a one-shot that is going to be FOC'd alongside Ding Goliath on June 1st. Can you give us the pitch on the inside job?
Yeah, so this is a one-shot that's going to have 3 of the original short stories. We originally started, I guess I said that wrong. We originally started doing them as 8-pagers, and then we've done a bunch of 8-pagers, and so this is going to have some of the 8-pagers in it. But we also have, I'm guessing, more issues like this that will have 8-pagers in them. We'll have, it's not an 8-page story, it's 3 8-page stories. We'll have more issues that do that. We'll have one-shots that we've done. I have 2 24-page one-shots that are 24-page stories that are already finished as well. I don't know. I did the math in my head. I'm not sure how many more issues we have, but it's quite a few because we've done a lot of content. So this will continue on with Hank's adventures in the inside job. He's investigating theft inside one of the stores in his region. And we also get to meet Callie, the dog, who becomes an important part of Hank's life. So
a key first appearance for those who are collecting.
Very true. Very true.
Awesome. Now, going into something far from Hank Howard and his detective skills with the great Italian culinary mastery, you have something that is often also associated with Italians and Catholicism, Ordained. Really trying hard to connect these things.
Yeah, I get to reach. I don't think there's any Italians in the comic anywhere.
Oh, yeah. It's Irish. Okay. That was so bad. Okay.
I don't know. He's a priest. He probably likes pizza once in a while, right?
There
he likes dogs, I'm sure. Yeah.
All right. Ordained has been an absolute storm for comic shops. We have gone through 5 printings on this book. The 6th printing of Ordained number 1 hits next week, along with the 4th printing of issue number 2. This book is not slowing down, with the final issue on its way, releasing June 17th. So can you remind everyone with a quick pitch of Ordained so I can spin it into something fun?
Sure. Ordained is about a priest named Father Roy who gets called to a hospital to do last rites for a dying patient. When he gets there, he finds out that the dying patient is actually an old Irish mobster who's on his deathbed, and he's confessing all the things he did wrong, all of his crimes to Father Roy and things like that. Father Roy goes through the sacrament, last rites, and absolves him of his sins, goes home. But it turns out the mobster makes a miraculous recovery. He's not going to die anymore. He's going to live. So now he has to kill the priest who knows all the secrets he just told him. And the priest wasn't always a priest. Used to be a Navy SEAL who found faith in the midst of a combat mission that went wrong. And so he's vowed never to kill again. So he has the Irish mobster and all these hitmen and things coming after him. He has to somehow defeat them, protect the people around him, innocent bystanders and things, and get back to the hospital side, try to save Cormac Burns' soul without killing anybody. So we did the first 2 issues. Like you say, the first one's in the 6th printing, the second one's in the 4th printing. Then we did a 0 issue where we step away and we show a character called the Machine, who's the big hitman that Cormac Burns been trying to get on the phone, but he hasn't been able to because it's the Machine's busy season. And so we follow him throughout his day. And then we're going to come back with Ordained number 3, which we delayed a little bit because the Machine also has sold out and I think is going into a 3rd printing. So we want to have an opportunity to get all those issues back on the stands where people can get them before the 4th issue comes out. And so, very grounded, street level. Trevor Hairsine on art, Dave Stewart on colors, beautiful stuff. All oversized issues. The issues are like 40 pages each. And this is another one that came out sort of over the winter break. I think issue 1 came out in December. So when I started the convention season up this year, it was my first time going out among fans since it had been published, and seeing the reaction to it and the amount of people that came up to me and talked to me about it and things was really, really good to see. So really humbled by the response to it. And, hopefully people like how we finish it up,
Absolutely. I mean, there could even, for my sake, arguably be a slice of pizza somewhere in the background.
There could, absolutely. Yeah, that could happen. Yeah.
But one thing that we know there is movie announcements with this, right?
Yeah, so it's been announced that Derek Kolstad, who is the creator and writer of the John Wick franchise, he is writing the screenplay for the film, and Colin Farrell has been attached to play Father Roy. There are other announcements that are going to be forthcoming, but I'm not allowed to say them. So, but it takes a lot for a movie to get to the screen. I went through that process with Surrogates many years ago, but so anything can happen. But for right now, it feels like we're in a really good position and the momentum and things are going in the right direction. So we're pretty excited about it.
Awesome. Well, that does allow me to flow into the final thing I want to talk to you about. As you mentioned, Derek Kolstad is doing the screen adaptation of Ordained, and we had that beautiful Alex Maleev cover on Ordained number 3. You're working with both of these men on this new series, Warbird.
Yeah, so I first met Derek and worked with him on Planet Death, which is another series that I did for Bad Idea. And then during, just sort of getting to work with him and getting to know him, as he read the script for Ordained, and that's when he came aboard on that project. And creatively, he's just a really great guy to work with. He's a super smart writer, and it's such a great time to be able to collaborate with him. And our newest collaboration is Warbird. That's a story about a man named Cole, who is a repo man, but he is the guy who steals from extremely wealthy people who don't pay their bills. So somebody buys a really expensive yacht and doesn't make the payments, he goes and steals the yacht. If it can, float, fly, drive, whatever, he can do it. And so he's an expert at all kinds of vehicles, and he gets hired by the United States government to go to Russia and steal, not repossess this time, steal a top secret military next generation fighter jet that they're working on. So it's his most dangerous mission. He has to go in and tap into some things in his own past that he'd rather leave buried. And Alex Maleev on art, that's just amazing. uh, Seeing the cover work, I've been lucky to have him do covers on some things. He did the cover for the first Hank Howard. He did the couple covers for 4 covers now, I think, for Ordained, and to be able to work with him on interiors is really really exciting. So we're looking forward to having that out and seeing what people think of it.
Absolutely. Now, issue 0 dropped right before Free Comic Book Day just a few weeks ago. You can grab that hopefully at your local comic shop, but you have a bit of time before issue number 1 hits final order cutoff on June 22nd. I love that June and July are just matching up on dates. July 22nd is the release date for Warbird number 1. And it has some amazing covers. Not only did we see the Alex Maleev earlier, there was a glow in the dark. There is a secret decoder cover with secret decoder glasses. I mean, they're really, I think that they thought, you're writing so amazing, we need to make sure everyone owns multiple copies.
My writing is so amazing, they need to make sure that you cannot read it at all unless you have secret decoder glasses. Yeah.
There it is. But the craziest thing, and I mean, Bad Idea is known for crazy things. Stores that order 250 copies of Warbird number 1 have the opportunity to get a PC video game tying into Warbird. Did they have you write this up, or was this a completely on the back end game?
Yeah, no, this is the brilliant team of Bad Idea coming up with their own, which is part of also what I love about the company, this thinking outside the box that they do on things, But yeah, this is their thing that they came up with, and I'm excited to see it just like everybody else is. They did a VHS for the Hab, Josh Dysart's book. They did a VHS. That's super cool, So I love that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great, and hopefully it gets a lot of sales because this is a book to read. Having read this 0 issue, you're gonna want to get your local comic shop to order as many copies as possible because, I mean, who doesn't love the idea of stealing super expensive big things and probably not necessarily landing them in the right place?
Yeah, we're leaning into the vehicle thing. The story's got boats, planes, trains, cars, motorcycles. Like, he's driving everything in this thing, and so it's fun to be able to do that kind of story. I haven't really done something like that before. It has a little bit of espionage, a lot of action, a lot of vehicles and things. And so we're having a good time with it.
Absolutely. So you have a heavy amount of incredible releases coming from Bad Idea over just the next 3 months. And it sounds like you're far from finished.
Yeah.
You have a lot ready. So where can people learn about upcoming comics that you have as they get announced?
Yeah, I mean, social media is probably the best place, like I'm on Twitter and Instagram, both places just at Robert Venditti. And I'll usually post when things are in catalogs for solicits or when new releases come out and things like that. So you can always follow me there and see what I'm up to.
Sounds great. So don't forget, reach out to your local comic shop, get your pre-orders in, get the new printings of Ordained, get the trade paperback of Tankers, and then, of course, order all of the new comics from Ordained, issue number 3, Dingoliath, Hank Howard, Pizza Detective in all of its many forms, Warbird, and, of course, the one that you got to get your orders in by this Monday, Tankers versus Ancient Aliens.
I think you got it. Yep.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Robert. It is always an absolute pleasure, even when I just try and throw pizza at every comic you've ever attached yourself to.
I appreciate it. It was good talking to you, and I'm sure I'll talk to you again soon.
All right. Thank you so much, Robert, and get your orders in this week for Robert's amazing books at Bad Idea. All right, everyone. Kyle, do you want to talk about more comics? I feel like, you don't always want to talk about more
I feel like I want to talk about pizza.
Oh, man, right about now, I could use a slice.
It's because we're both hungry, right?
I'm starving.
Yeah.
I'm awake now. I will say that. Robert accomplished the goal. I'm wide awake and hungry for pizza.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, the thing I like about Robert Venditti, and I've liked since he was writing Superman, right, is that his stories have they all have a lot of depth. Like Ordained has more depth in it than I frankly, than I expected. I expected a mob book with some punching and stuff, but there's a lot going on. So to hear how well or how much he thinks through all of this stuff and how much planning he's put into it, like and in and including building a universe around Mannix
Yeah.
art style, like, is great. So, tell you what, Matthias,
Mm-hmm.
do you need to go get a little bit of a carb now that you've talked about pizza the whole time?
That would be a good kick before we dive into all the fun.
Right. Why don't you do that? And I am going to do a little bit of a commercial for the EXP. How's that sound?
I like it.
All right. So everybody, the EXP has a lot of stuff going on right now, including, it's Ben 10 exclusive, but all this. But I want to tell you about some upcoming shows we have. So tonight at 7 is Nick's original art show, the Original Art Experience, where he is going to have not only Mark Bagley art, but he will have some concept art that you've probably not seen from Mark Bagley, as well as a ton of other really cool original art pages, which, believe it or not, are actively coming in as we speak for the show tonight. So I don't even know all of the things that they've sent us, but there is just a ton of really cool stuff for tonight's show, including a Wolverine cover and some other stuff. So then after Nick gets off the air tonight we'll have Nancy McCann from Comics Unlimited. Nancy is doing her normal requests and vintage show that she does every week. Nancy's been doing this for like 40 years. And at one point, like, she was Jim Lee's LCS. Maybe you should ask her about that if you turn into that show. Ask her about being the Image Comics LCS. It's a pretty cool story. So she will be on tonight here on the EXP from 9 to 11. Then tomorrow, this is a new announcement. I will be here tomorrow afternoon doing a live sale where nothing is more than $5. Everything is $5 or less on my live sale tomorrow afternoon. Following my live sale, Miss Jen will be doing her long-running comic live sale, her Saturday night show, where everything she's doing is 75% off the price marked on the book. So you're going to want to tune in for those things. So make sure you check those out here on the EXP. And then next week, Matthias and I will be back with another FOC show, as well as all the other great shows here on the Experience. So I watched Matthias scarf down an entire slice of pizza. So now let's bring him back on and we'll have a conversation about other comics you should buy.
He's not lying. I really did off camera. I'm great. No, that's awesome. I mean, I missed out on Kyle's show yesterday, which I think is my biggest mistake I could have made. I am not going to pass up a $5 show.
Nothing is more than $5.
Oh, yeah. That's even better. All right. Yeah, I like saving money. That sounds great. More comics in my life? Always. So let's talk about some more comics that we can order by this Monday by hopping over to prhcomics.com. We had to see a return of Alice Forever After for its final issue from Dan Panosian and his great storytellings on the other side of the looking glass. But one that goes back a while that I'm super excited about is a reprinting, a master deluxe edition of Shiro Masamune's classic, not Ghost in the Shell, but Appleseed. Appleseed, I think, is a classic for any fan of 1980s and early 90s manga. This is one of the first ones that Dark Horse truly came over in a big form, and now we get it in a big hardcover. Well, most of you will likely know Masamune for his incomparable work on Ghost in the Shell. This is more of the series that started it all, and I am beyond excited to have an oversized copy on this, even if the number I'm thinking of is exactly the number Kyle thinks it is.
The number in terms of Appleseed?
Oh, no, the number is in the price there.
Oh, yeah. Listen, I've paid more than that for Appleseed. I'll be honest. That was a book that for a minute was really hard to come by in the States. So we were definitely overpaying for bootlegs and things. So I think that's a really great way to get a hold of the deluxe. That's a really great price point for that deluxe edition.
Absolutely. I mean, I have seen people pay triple figures for single issues that are contained in that complete collection. Meanwhile, I've also seen people pay triple figures for some of the art that will be contained in the art of Star Trek and Defiant. The incredible combination of writing that spilled out of Colin Kelly, Jackson Landing, and Christopher Cantwell was beyond brilliant. But if you loved all of the many, many artists that worked with them on covers, interior pinups, and the like, even store exclusives, this masterpiece in art is going to be a must for fans of Trek. Combining 2 epic years of 2 separate series, the art of Star Trek Defiant, which should be realistically Star Trek and Defiant, is going to be a fun way to collect some of this amazing stuff in a time period where right now we don't have any new Star Trek announcements. Well, Paramount Plus does have us 2 more seasons of Strange New Worlds and another season of Starfleet Academy. We have nothing new being filmed or announced. This is going to be the way to get your Trek fever dealt with. A lot of great continuing series. I need to emphasize Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Kyoshi Warriors, but I also have to talk about new series. And having Saladin Ahmed bring back our time-traveling hero in the way of Bishop is an exciting enough piece on its own. But when you throw in the fact that this is going to deal with one of the greatest parts of Bishop's life, and I'm not talking Cable, I'm talking about his beloved younger sister, Shard, this draws my attention. Unfortunately, for both Bishop and Shard, it starts with tragedy. So if you've ever been a fan of Bishop, if you've ever been a fan of Shard, this is going to be a must read. And I think with Saladin Ahmed's writing, it will definitely be a edge of your seat adventure.
You know, there was a conversation that was had last night on the Geek Chat about Bishop as it relates to this week's Civil War Unmasked release. And we were talking about how there hasn't been a good Bishop story in a while. And I think bringing in Saladin Ahmed and having it be a Shard story is an opportunity for the first time in a while for Marvel to put out what I'm going to call an interesting Bishop concept. So I'm very excited for this one, and I like Saladin Ahmed's writing a lot. So definitely a supporter of that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Even if I do think Bishop should have killed Scott Summers more than once.
All right, another great one. Man, look at the covers on Black Cat number 11. G. Willow Wilson is bringing Frank Castle to Felicia Hardy's unbelievable ongoing series, and it has somehow got some of the hands down best comic covers releasing in June. Everyone from Adam Hughes to J. Scott Campbell, Cafu, like look at this Cafu homage to the first appearance of Punisher back in Amazing Spider-Man 129. All of these look amazing. And I cannot wait to see how this duo works together, because Frank has a pretty much no tolerance policy for theft. And it's kind of Black Cat's thing. So I'm expecting an action-packed tale unlike anything. This looks amazing. Again, so many brilliant covers. I don't know which one I'm choosing. I mean, personally, I might just go for all of them, but too many great books. So we have Black Cat number 11, followed by one of the longest or most iconic tales of, I hate to say slave uprising, but that topic. The Black Schooner is a graphic novel about the infamous rebellion on one of the most haunting ships to ever sail itself between Africa and the Americas, the Amistad. It's been a tale told in legend, in film, in prose, in so much. And now we have a graphic novel adaptation talking about this horrifying slave ship and those who were stuck beneath it and rose up.
So in school, we read the novel about Amistad, right? And while we were reading it, our teacher wound up having a medical issue and having to retire mid-year, and we got a substitute who was brand new, didn't know the rules. We convinced him to let us watch Amistad in English class. That dude got in so much trouble, but ever since then, I've been obsessed with this story. This was, I'll be honest, this was almost my pick of the week. Like, even though it was a graphic novel, I was almost like, screw prose, Amistad. But I knew you were going to talk about it. This, I'm so excited. Like, we need more historical semi-fiction in the comic book world, I think. We have enough. Clearly, these are dudes who wear their underwear on the outside and fly. We need more. This could have maybe actually happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and it is and when we say that, like, this is historical fiction, there is a level of degree that is added to make this fictional, but this is a historical event that I don't think modern schools are teaching, at least here in the States. And this is something that needs attention. This is something that is a tale that should have a spotlight on it. And as such, this is great to have as a graphic novel, but this is one of those ones where you, the consumer, needs to reach out to your store if you want it. Coming from a smaller publisher in the way of Beacon Press, this is not something every comic shop is going to order, but every comic shop will have access to if they're ordering through Penguin Random House. So if you would like this book, this is one of those ones where it's very important you take advantage of FOC, reach out to your local comic shop and request it. But I also want to state, well, that guarantees you get it. If you're watching this episode after FOC, it is still worth reaching out to your local comic shop if you would like to read The Black Schooner so you can get an order in. Another fun one in why it is important to reach out before FOC. Not every comic shop sells games. Any comic shop that is ordering through Penguin Random House has the opportunity of getting a game on one of my top animes, Tite Kubo's Bleach. Bleach has a new board game put out through Don't Panic Games and Tokyo Pop called Bankai Battle. And if you know anything about Bleach, you know the biggest sword evolution is the Bankai. And I just hope this game means that me and my friends get to yell Bankai over and over again at each other. But it is a fast-paced game where, yes, you play the Shinigami or death dealers that pull out their large swords and fight against one another. I don't know why I'm so excited about this game, but I am. And I am excited that this is a game that not only game stores have access to, but your local comic shop can get. And if you're a manga seller, if you have a lot of fans of Tite Kubo's Bleach, this seems like an easy win.
And it's a roll and clash style game. That's what that means. You see, it says Bleach, Bankai Battle, Roll and Clash. So roll and clash style games are, when you think about some of the big ones, are maybe like some of the Star Wars dice games where you roll your dice and it kind of tells you what you can do in battle, right? So this game is going to be very quick to learn, very easy to pick up. It's going to be very playable for younger fans of manga. So if you're like me and you read Bleach, again, when you were basically tape trading manga that were bootlegs and having to steal them from Media Play because you couldn't afford... Listen, the 90s were wild for manga fans, okay? But if you were reading Bleach back then and you have young people in your life you want to introduce to Bleach, but maybe are like, I don't know that I want to give you my very rare and expensive manga that I've had my whole life. This is a great way to introduce them to the characters, to the concepts, to that kind of stuff with a very easy to learn game.
Absolutely. Oh, great stuff. This is the first time I've had to think about the idea of trading VHSs of anime in a long time. Whoa. Okay, so now that I have completely scrolled past everything, some things I want to just point out. Captain Marvel Dark Past, another Marvel book with beautiful, beautiful covers. And I think Paul Jenkins' brilliant writing is getting overlooked. So I always want to point that out. James Tynion IV's The City Beneath Her Feet, returning with its final issue, finally on FOC, as Distillery gets back into the publishing game. We have issue number 3 on FOC. Reach out to your local comic shop to see if issue 1 and 2 is still available if you missed out on this, or let them know if you are still around and still want issue number 3 of City Beneath Your Feet. Civil War Unmasked, celebrating the 20th anniversary of 2006's Marvel event, Civil War, as Christos Gage goes back to that and deals with the big reveal of Spider-Man declaring to the world he is Peter Parker. Another one that absolutely astounds me, it has been ages since we last saw book 4, is Paul Chadwick's Concrete, one of the early defining titles of Dark Horse. When I think of Dark Horse, that is one of the number one books I think of before even Sin City and 300.
Not Boris the Bear?
You know, that's up there, oddly enough, too. Boris the Bear. Wow, that's one I haven't thought about in a long time either. Maybe that'll be next week's FOC.
Right.
But
Concrete,
Paul Chadwick's Concrete.
Listen, Concrete is great. It is not your typical book when you think of Dark Horse from this era. It really does have a very sort of different vibe than a lot of the other Dark Horse books from their early years had. I'll be honest, I've always heard Concrete's voice sort of as Arnold Schwarzenegger meets like James Earl Jones. And when you go to read this book and you think about the time when it came out and the era that this book was happening in, it certainly lends itself to that voice, and it lends itself to remembering what the early days of indie comics were like.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's going to be a fun one to return us to. Meanwhile, if you missed out on Daredevil this week, Daredevil number 2 is getting a second printing. And of course, if you don't want to miss out, you can get your orders in for Daredevil 3. Stephanie Phillips has just been kicking butt with this new run. Lee Garbett's artwork, absolutely amazing. It's blowing my mind. Daredevil is just selling out issue after issue. It's not the title I would expect, but thanks to Born Again, just kicking butt. The season finale having just hit last week on Disney Plus. Everyone needs more Daredevil, and this is the comic to get that.
Quickly, I'm going to call something out that I noticed this week, Matthias.
Mm-hmm.
You see, there's 2 Daredevil covers that are classified.
Mm-hmm.
There were other covers earlier on that were classified. There will be more covers that we're going to come across later that are classified. And then we go over to Penguin Random House. There are multiple over there where we're not showing you the cover. Listen, if you're a comic book publisher, the days of we're not showing you the cover have to end. So many comics are selling based not on the story, but on the cover. And so many extra copies of your comics are selling because of cool covers. Guess what? If we don't know what the covers are, we can't order accurately. We can't order adequate numbers. So all of a sudden, you're cutting your nose off to spite your face because you want to keep a secret.
Absolutely.
It's the most short-sighted, mono-thought, awful concept I've ever seen in comics, and it continues to happen, and it has to stop. Now, I believe at this point, because these are classified, that these will be the first Marvel AI covers now that guy who's the president of Disney wants everything to be AI. So now I've said it on the internet, and because you haven't shown me a cover by somebody else, you can't tell me it's not true.
Well, considering some of the creators that are involved, I have to defend the artists, Carissa Susilo, and we've seen a number of other artists. These are classic artists.
Sure.
I had a fun point of discussion with one of my staff, actually, as we were discussing the Magic the Gathering covers, which have been classified, because my joke initially was, look, it's hard sometimes to choose which Spider-Man card from the Magic the Gathering Spider-Man set you're going to put on something that doesn't have Spider-Man. As over the past week, we've been getting that with things like X-Men and Moon Knight featuring Spider-Man characters on their Magic cards. But my staff member reminded me that in just a few short weeks, we'll have Magic the Gathering Marvel Superheroes, the new Magic the Gathering set, and they haven't spoiled the cards yet for that set. And that's likely what it is it's a Wizards of the Coast classified. But I will agree. You are right. It's cutting off your nose to spite your face that we don't know what it is. There are stores that I know are going to outright not order any classified or spoilered or to be announced covers.
Right.
And
And
it's a
here's the
fun-
thing. If you have a deal like that where you're releasing a set of cards with another company and you're going to have the same art on your cover that's on your card, if you say right here at FOC, this cover is not announced because we haven't released the card art yet. Well, now every store knows that, oh, if I have Magic the Gathering fans who are going to be buying this set, I should buy this cover because it's going to match their cards. That's enough information in order to be able to order. But just being like, it's classified, you don't need to know, is the same as saying, it's money, you should just give it to us.
It's not wrong. But it also leads to that question. I hate always, having to play the devil's advocate with you on these because I agree with you more often than not. But, I want to make sure everyone always has information. There's also the other mentality of, retailers holding Kyle's exact opinion and not ordering this book could make these books a little bit rarer on the market. It is that weird. I don't want to say that, but I need to say
if you're the consumer, you love this.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. As a consumer, I would love this. But as a retailer, and again, I'm advocating for the smarter, wiser, better run business. This has to stop.
Yes. Now, in that same devil's advocate of speculatory purchasing and advising people on these things, Daredevil issue number 3 does have a TV variant. And if you recall, we recently had a Punisher number 3 TV variant, of which we'll be talking about again later on this show, that is skyrocketing on the aftermarket. Everyone's trying to buy it. So perhaps this Charlie Cox Daredevil Born Again ad of a cover could be worthy of paying attention to.
Charlie Cox is at Motor City Comic Con this weekend.
Oh?
And every slot for a photo with him was sold out 2 weeks ago.
I mean, I would understand why. I would love to get a photo with Charlie Cox.
Sure, I'm just saying, like, super popular. So again, as Mathias is saying, that we're pointing at that book for a reason, y'all.
Yeah, great one to have Charlie sign while you're in that photo. All right, FML returns finally with issue 8. I love Kelly Sue DeConnick, so I have to point it out. But the thing we got to point out, Kyle, you didn't choose Amistad as your pick of the week. So what was it you chose as your pros pick of the week?
The World's Greatest Detective returns. And no, I'm not talking about Batman because he's not a detective anymore, DC. This is The Further Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, the Debutante Detective by Bruce Rule, published by Titan Books. This is Sherlock Holmes set in New York City, where he is investigating something having to do with Teddy Roosevelt's daughter, Alice. Holmes and Watson are here to save the president and his family from kidnapping, assassination, and someone who is not doesn't have their best interest at heart. So this is a fun story taking Sherlock Holmes and making him a fish out of water, sort of in that sort of style. And again, The Further Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, much like The Further Adventures of the New Kung Fu, is a great way to freshen up Sherlock Holmes, who is a classic story, and Bruce Rule is a great mystery writer. So very excited for this one. Again, if you've not read any of Bruce's other books, maybe go and check out oh man, I'm going to blank, so I have to actually pull it up here on PRH. Normally I can remember these things.
We had a long night.
Yeah, we did. It's the only book they have on PRH. He's written other mysteries for other companies before, so I'd have to do some research on that again. But Bruce Rule's a great mystery writer, and Sherlock Holmes, man. By the way, this is the 180. This year is the 180th anniversary of the detective novel with Sherlock Holmes, or with Edgar Allan Poe's Message Found in a Bottle, and the 150th anniversary of Sherlock Holmes.
There you go. Wow, 150 years since Sir Arthur Conan Doyle brought us Sherlock Holmes. That's crazy to think of.
No, I'm not planning an exhibit for Poe Fest about the detective novel. Not at all. I haven't been doing hundreds of hours of research on this topic. No.
Well, we'll definitely have to talk about that as we get closer to Poe Festival. All right, guys. Hellboy is back with a new Hellboy in love story. Obsidian deals with the Greek Isle of Crete and a new temple that Hellboy and his beloved ally must uncover in relation to mysteries that have been popping up throughout the Hellboy in Love comics. That classic skull might return. Fun new short miniseries, just 2 issues long. I really have been loving that the Hellboy and Loves are just simple, quick tales, but you're getting full stories. You're still getting that Magnolia feel with Christopher Golden's brilliant writing. I am excited to give this one a shot. I say give it a shot like I'm not reading every Hellboy in Love. But if you are a fan of Hellboy who is missing out in a post-Hellboy in Hell era, Hellboy in Love is definitely the way you continue getting your right fist of, or your right hand of doom. Hello Darkness, some great covers and some unexpected authors with Ryan North giving some horror in the newest issue. And then one of my favorite things is to read very long manga titles. So how about the history of the Kingdom of Orkson and how the barbarian Orcish nation came to burn down the peaceful Elfland? An interesting new manga from Seven Seas Entertainment about a young dark elf who must do the absolutely unthinkable and ally herself with orcs after treason existed in the elfish kingdoms that led to an absolute genocide of elves. Very interesting concept, and again, a very lengthy manga title, doing that traditional light novel to manga. This is a popular series, selling light novel series, now finding its first release in English as manga. All right. One I really want to drag Kyle in, because I'm sure Kyle has a lot of opinions on. Did you know that Jay and Silent Bob have been in the Marvel Universe for a few months now?
I did.
Crazy little cameos these two New Jersey natives have been making. And now they get their own mini-series in the way of Jay and Silent Bob, the Jays of Future Past. Kevin Smith writing, Giuseppe Camuncoli on art, and Dr. Doom in a rampage to remove Jay and Silent Bob from the universe. This is ridiculous, is it not?
I have this. Days of Future Past was such an important thing. And everybody has tried to make a play on it, including a terrible movie. So there is one person I trust to make a terrible play on it that is so bad it's good, and that is Kevin Smith.
Absolutely. And it's not like this is a new idea for Kevin. As you can read in this solicit, from the moment in Mallrats when they made the very first reference to Wolverine in cinema history, which I didn't realize that was the first time that we had a cinema in a reference to Wolverine. I've always wanted Jay and Silent Bob to meet their Marvel heroes in a comic book crossover. So much so that I pitched it to Stan the man himself on the day he shot the cameo in the movie back in 1995. 30 years later, Days of Future Past represents both a love letter to the magic and mayhem of Marvel, as well as a giggle-inducing proof that our childhood dreams can still come true at age 55, which, thank you, because I needed that, Kevin. I mean, this is going to be beyond amusing, I think. We have a lot of great covers, including classified Magic the Gathering covers, just to rile up Kyle, but some fun with Jim Mahfood, Mike Allred, Phil Noto, and others. I think this is going to be awesome. A lot of great continuing manga, a lot of great continuing comics. We get to see the return of Magic the Gathering Untold Stories with Elspeth after a big gap between issues, as well as Magic the Gathering Untold Stories with Jace. And you can see Tezzeret, for those of you Magic fans that know, haunting over our beloved Blue Planeswalker. There's a ton to talk about, but I want to dive forward to the latter end of the alphabet and particularly discuss Venom, because Venom is going to get a new costume, and it is across all of the covers of Ali Wing's crazy epic with Mary Jane wielding the symbiote. We now get a brand new costume that actually reveals it's Mary Jane wearing the Venom symbiote across the covers of 259. I mean, and there's some great covers there. I actually got to say, I kind of dig the new costume. I mean, especially after well over a dozen issues of Venom just, it could have been, I mean, we had, 6 issues before we all realized it was Mary Jane in the suit? And then a number of costume changes and twists that really didn't depict our model-esque redheaded heroine is the one wearing the black suit.
So I had one of the books I had last night was a variant of Amazing Spider-Man 640 with Mary Jane and Black Cat on it.
Yeah.
And I talked about how I want a Mary Jane as Venom and Black Cat series where it's basically them, Thelma and Louising their way through life, where they go to a nightclub as Mary Jane and as, Black Cat's normal alter ego, and then wind up beating up bad guys or eating bad guys because they're Venom or whatever. And I want every cover to be drawn when he's healthy by Adam Hughes, because it would just be a license to print money.
I in no way disagree with you. And I mean, looking at the Adam Hughes cover on Black Cat and Punisher with Black Cat 11 earlier today, I would have to double down and say it is absolutely printing money. So beautiful covers, a new look. We're going to have some big twists with Dylan Brock, obviously, in this issue. All sorts of fun for Venom. You know who's a character who's not having fun right now, though? Wolverine. I thought I was going to get Kyle in on that one, but Wolverine has... Oh, there it was. Wolverine has 2 issues on FOC this week, issues 21 and 22. And 21 looks a little fun as Wolverine teams up with Nightcrawler. You get to see all sorts of goofy covers available on this, including a spoiler cover that has no Magic the Gathering excuse. Issue 22, it looks like things get a little bit harsher as Wolverine gets so badly beaten up. The adamantium claws actually get broken down. And while Wolverine can heal from just about everything, I want to remind you, the bone claws are his. The adamantium is not. There's no healing adamantium. So what happens with this big and iconic issue? Once again, Saladin Ahmed, who is becoming the new Jed McKay and the new Brian Michael Bendis, I feel, of Marvel, writing more and more epic tales. Saladin is going to do a moment that is going to change Wolverine. The last time I really remember having a big moment like this, realistically, was when we ripped the adamantium off of Wolverine's skeleton, when we had the big reveal that he has bone claws. Maybe when Charles Soule covered Wolverine's body in adamantium while he was quote-unquote dead, but this is going to be one of those big epics. Wolverine losing his claws snapped off. These covers look haunting. I mean, it makes my hands cringe a little bit. This is going to be an interesting moment. This is going to be, I think, the issue that drives me, who has been lapsed on reading Wolverine, back into the title.
They should have called it Wolverine Declawed.
Now, I don't know why Wolverine has 2 issues on FOC this week, but pertinent to let your comic shop know, especially if you're like me and you're hopping back on with issue 22. Then, last bit of X-Men fun for PRH, X-Men 31 and X-Men Outbreak on FOC at the same time as the newest Age of Krakoa omnibus. But the big one we got to talk about is Steve Orlando doing X-Men Outback, because it's all of our favorite X-heroes in Australia, but going back in time, as if there isn't enough happening right now in the modern era of the X-Men. This is a story set when we thought our main X-Men Blue team were all dead. When they were hiding and operating out of Australia, a classic 90s era story. I want to say it was 90s era. I could be off and it could be 80s because I mix all the time periods up these days. This is X-Men Outback, new miniseries. I'm excited about this. I can barely remember this era of storytelling. I don't know if Kyle remembers it better than I, but I'm not opposed to seeing our heroes in the land down under.
I remember it, but I remember it in as much as I remember seeing this going, oh, we don't really need to do that. That original X-Men Outback was so good. You're talking about the introduction of Jubilee. You're talking about some of these major character changes that really set the X-Men up for the 80s and 90s. We don't really need to go back to it. It was good. It was perfect the way it was. I'm excited for an opportunity to see what new concepts someone like Steve Orlando can bring to the Outback the Outback style of X-Men storytelling. But I only remember X-Men Outback because I was like, wait a minute, we don't need this, really? Let me look into it. Let me reread it. So
It's fair. And again, it's not something I can entirely disagree with, but it is an option out there. For those of you guys looking, I mean, I'm not opposed to seeing more heroes in Australia. So all sorts of fun in the land down under, out in the outback with Steve Orlando and Steven Segovia, a tale of two Steves and a whole lot of Aussie mutants.
right.
So,
A dingo ate my Wolverine would be very funny.
you know what? I take it back. Steve, get off the book. Let's get Kyle writing. Okay. Let's have some fun with DC, Image, Dynamite, and the rest over at lunardistribution.com. Remember, lunardistribution.com. You're going to scroll down to upcoming FOC. Make sure you're on the right date because it seems like it could be the wrong date with the Absolute Batman Arkham special once again on FOC for the third time with a newest printing. All sorts of fun to be had if you missed out on there, as well as craziness across the Absolute universe with Absolute Green Lantern. But I'm excited because we are now ordering for books in June, which is Pride Month. And right now, Lunar is bringing a series of great Pride books on FOC. One of them is Adventure Time, the mixtape Pride special, as Rosie Knight gives us Princess Bubblegum and Marceline, perhaps the cutest couple in the world of Ooh. I mean, I've loved every one of the one-shots that have involved Princess Bubblegum and Marceline. I think this will be no exception. All sorts of fun. It makes me want to sit down and rewatch the Adventure Time, what was it, Worlds Beyond special with the two of them?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So all sorts of fun to be had there. Then we wrap things forward with Book of L, Philip Kennedy Johnson's awesome Superman wrap-up story. If you love things like Blue Lock, I know Billy was always a big proponent of Blue Lock, and I am a fan of it too. If you need more soccer manga, Aoashi, let's try that again. Aoashi has a 3-in-1, giving us more pro soccer sports manga. This one is going to be more traditional soccer than the insanity of Battle Royale-esque Blue Lock. And as we're preparing for the World Cup, this could be a fun way of getting more soccer in your life. There was even a great all-ages Western graphic novel on soccer over and PRH's FOC this week. So the theme will be flooding your comic shop as we get closer to the Cup.
You know, they made so many great slice of life sports manga that you forget how many great soccer ones there were.
I agree. I absolutely agree. A cover that didn't make it to the top 10, but it really fought with me. I really think it deserves attention. Right now, Tate Bromble's Batgirl is amazing, but this Terso Khan's cover featuring Cassandra wrapping her hands up, I think is massively deserving of attention. The very subtle Batgirl neon sign hidden in the background, lighting up the piece. I think Terso Cons is definitely an artist that needs to have attention paid. Well, it didn't make our top 10. I had to spotlight it. This is just brilliant. Tape Romble's Batgirl, if you're not reading, also absolutely deserving of every bit of your attention, especially as the Batverse heats up after issue 9 with that epic battle as Poison Ivy, the mayor of Gotham, and Vandal Savage, the commissioner of the Gotham City Police Department, hunt down the Bat family. It heats up in Batman 10 with some amazing covers and some brilliant storytelling from Matt Fraction. Then another series that has lapsed for far too long, Raphael Grandpa's Batman, the Gargoyle of Gotham, finally back for its final issue. This is the big conclusion with months in between issue 3 and issue 4. Definitely let your local comic shop know if you're still in for the final part of this tale. I think at this point, I hate to say I'm going to be the one trade waiting, which is weird for me to say, but it's been so long, I barely remember what happened in the last issue.
Well, and that's kind of the problem with Gargoyle of Gotham, right? It was such a intricate story anyway, that to then have a massive delay for whatever reason, and I think Raphael had a pretty good reason, as I recall, just causes too much reader fall off. And if you're ADHD like me, you can't go back and reread the issues you missed that you already read, because it'll drive you nuts. But then you want to read this last issue, so it's better just to get the trade and sit down and read it again.
Yeah. And for those of you guys who were getting the 1 through 3 in the Noir Black and White edition, keep in mind that is still available and not as likely to see trade. I don't know for a fact, but if you were grabbing the Noir editions, the final issue does have the Noir still. All right. Here's a big one. This caught retailers so off guard. I heard countless stores are already sold out of Ben 10. I can tell you from my shop experience, customers came out of the woodwork, customers who had never been in a comic shop before. All of the Ben 10 fans that have grown up, are now adults out there spending money and buying into nostalgia, came out for Ben 10. No excuses here because we told you about it. We talked it up. In fact, we even offered an exclusive, and you still have an opportunity if you missed out on Ben 10 #1. Kyle, you want to talk about that?
Right. So you guys remember the EXP did our first ever exclusive variant on Ben 10 #1 with artist Jay Fosgett. There is our exclusive cover. That's our main cover of Ben 10 #1. We still have them. In fact, we now know that this is one of the smallest print runs that were done on Ben 10 #1. It's one of the rarest covers. Mathias pointed out before the show, it's the only cover that features Gwen Tennyson mainly on the cover there. So that's a big deal. But these right now are only available through EXP shops, EXP sellers, and EXP people. So you have to get them from us live on the air or from us directly. But I'm doing something even more unique, me personally. So in 2 weeks, I will be at a convention with cover artist Jay Fosgett. So if you pick up any of the Ben 10 covers, so we have the main cover, the Virgin, the line art, or the line art version. If you pick up any of them, I will get them signed for you at Cherry Capital Comic Con by Jay Fosgett and provide a COA for no additional cost. So
Wow.
the main cover is 20, the Virgin is 25, the line art is 30, and the line art Virgin is 35. You could get all four for $100. And the way you do that, if you want to take advantage of my deal, is you would email Kyle at theexplive.com and let me know. And then we would invoice you. Or again, you could pick it up on my live sale that I talked about earlier tomorrow here on the Experience, or any of the other opportunities that I have here over the next week. But again, if you pick any of the #1s up, which by the way, these are first printings, so a lot of places are going to be down to second printings. If you pick any of these up from me before the 21st, I will have them signed by cover artist Jay Fosgit with COA for no additional cost.
Man, I want one of those that way. So I want to point out the second printing looks like it did get shifted off of this week's FOC. So I am confirming right now. Ben 10 #1 second printing is going to be FOCing. Let's see. And while I say this, obviously, we always want to remind everyone, go to your local comic shop. You know, this is a cover that we're talking about that is not available at your local comic shop. Is the only reason why we're emphasizing ordering through us. But the second printing of Ben 10 #1 is on FOC this Monday. So it is just a simple tab over one direction or another that I'm missing. There it is. There's no image for it yet, is the reason why it is not on here. So hopefully later today or Saturday, you will be able to see it. But the Ben 10 #1 second printing is on FOC this Monday if you missed out. Or you can reach out to us here at the EXP to grab the EXP exclusive by Jay Fosgit. The only way to get that Gwen Tennyson cover on an issue #1. And then the other cool thing I want to emphasize, the reason why we talk it up, is that supports our wonderful channel as well as our producers like Kyle and Jay and others. So, you know, grab an order, get an awesome Gwen Tennyson cover, support the incredible Jay Fosgit, and take advantage of Kyle's offer to get it signed, because we're in an era where, you know, you're not getting a lot of free autographs these days, and that is a cool one because Jay is a brilliant artist.
Great. And like I said, I know we're talking about our exclusive, and this is a show that airs in a lot of local comic shops. So I want to be super clear. I always want you to go to your local comic shop and support them and buy from them. This is a unique opportunity that is only available here on the EXP, and it is something that helps us keep making this kind of content. So go into your local comic shop, buy them out of Ben 10, and then email me.
I like it. Yeah. And I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea with the second printing on the way. I don't even think a second printing is going to be enough. This series has legs, it has fire, and it is hot. So, Ben 10, a lot of great covers. Reach out to your local comic shop with the covers you want, and then potentially throw on a Gwen Tennyson #1 by hopping onto one of the EXP shows. So, another thing hitting a second printing because of popularity, Kevin Smith's Bizarro Year None hits a second printing with 2 brand new covers. I personally love this Paulo Rivera piece because Bizarro am good at circle drawing.
The fact that they're not doing the Weird Al cover again is a travesty.
Just means your Weird Al cover and your normal Al covers are worth more.
It's a travesty. Should be the only one they're reprinting.
If you love manga short stories, the Blue Archive anthology is a part of 8 tankobon-sized manga that will be coming out from Udon Publishing. The Blue Archive comic anthology has 2 items on FOC this week with great mangaka. I believe not just traditional Japanese mangaka as well. So, fun one to add to your order.
Hey, Matthias.
Yeah.
Quickly, I think sometimes you and I, especially when we're talking about manga, because you and I have been reading it our whole lives, we just assume people know what some of these terms mean.
Yeah.
Can you explain tankobon to people?
Yeah, so tankobon are the equivalent of trade paperbacks for manga. Manga originally releases in Japan in thick phone book size catalogs that are like anthology comics. You know, for about, 300 to 700 yen, you're going to get a thick book this way with a bunch of 20-page stories. But when you love things like, say, Dragon Ball or Sailor Moon, you don't want to get this thick anthology that fills up your room in less than a year. So the tankobon would be the equivalent of the trade paperbacks. So they are going to be manga more in this size, where this will be a tankobon. It is a specific format, much like a trade paperback, that allows you to get a collection of normally 6 to 15 chapters of your favorite manga. And Again, for those just to clear in reference, manga would be comics that come out of Japan and has now become more associated with the style of Japanese comics, which still ranges, much like American comics or any comics, as a medium less than a genre.
So when I learned the term tankobon, it was taught to me as these are your collected editions for anthology. So you'd have a DC Comics anthology where you'd have a bunch of small Jimmy Olsen stories, and then they would collect the Jimmy Olsen story into one. Or if you read Garfield, those books they would put out where it was just the Garfield comic strips that you had already read in the paper, but now they were in their own book. That was what I was taught tankobon was. If you go into a shop, likely you find manga on the shelves those are tankobon.
Indeed. And then they also have different versions of the format. Bonkoban, which would be the smaller one, like if you've ever bought Lone Wolf and Cub or Path of the Assassin from Dark Horse, and others. They get crazy, but that could be a whole other show, is talking about the Japanese terms in their incredible line of sequential artwork. But let's talk about something, very Western. Kyle, you're a man of music. Do you know of Charlemagne the God?
I do know of Charlemagne the God, and I don't even know of Charlemagne the God for music. I know of Charlemagne the God from his great talk show.
Ah, well, Charlemagne the God is expansive in many realms as he now enters into comics with an AWA trade paperback called Illuminati. Writing by Brian Edward Hill and Dennis Cohen and Bill Sienkiewicz artwork with that beautiful Sanford green cover, Charlemagne the God presents a story with a great creative team that deals with some dark twists, the hip-hop community, and more.
For the record, it's Illuminati.
Illuminati, yes.
Because licensed to ill.
I'm just not, my finger is not on the pulse of great music like you. So, fun one for people who are looking for a unique type of comic. The Incredible Story of Cooking is going to talk about all the interesting things that you might enjoy or question about how food came to be, as well as giving you some great recipes. I always love these type of, history-esque sequential art books, whether it's the history of beer or a collection of presidents or key battles throughout history, even like we had mentioned earlier, the Black Schooner, which is going to tell us the tale of the Armistad. The Incredible Story of Cooking will be a fun but pricey book that might give you a new look at your favorite foods and where they came from.
I think this is a growth market in comics, is the cookbook. I really do. So again, if you're out there and you're a publisher, more cookbooks. Like I want the Red Coat cookbook. How do we make the food that the immortals eat? Or what does Batman have when he gets home from fighting crime and he's hungry? Is it just a bowl of cereal, or like does he have Alfred make him something good? These are the questions we need answered.
Jeff Johns and Matt Fraction, I imagine both amazing chefs. I know they got families. I'd be curious to hear, their recipes. I know one of my favorite ones, I will say, was Star Wars: The High Republic Adventures, the Galactic Cooking Special.
Yes.
Justina Ireland, who is a novelist, and she's not even the writer of that issue of the comic, but novelist Justina Ireland actually provided a recipe she created in that comic. And I mean, for me, I'll still always hold the love of, I want to say it was from the Judd Winnick era of Green Arrow, where there was a recipe for Oliver Queen's chili that I remember making out of the comic menu or description there.
See, there's money to be made here, people.
Yep. All right. If you guys are fans of Scott Snyder and his DC works, whether it is the New 52 Batman or Absolute Batman, and you missed out on DCKO, you did yourself the greatest disservice, because even the Absolute Trinity appear in this. Grab the collection of all of DCKO, the entire 5-issue run that pits our favorite heroes of the main DC universe against, yes, the absolute trinity. Trade paperback and hardcover on FOC this week. Now, here's the big one for me. Kyle, have you ever read Ice Cream Man?
Of course I've read Ice Cream Man. I read the first issue the night before it came out and was so excited. I did my first ever live broadcast from my shop promoting Ice Cream Man #1.
An amazing horror anthology from Image Comics. Everyone loves it. Kyle, me, hopefully you. And if you weren't aware, the creative team behind Ice Cream Man are about to bring you Dead Man, a 6-issue miniseries from W. Maxwell Prince and Martin Morazzo, the same people who already brought you Superman, the Kryptonite Spectrum, are back again with everyone's favorite acrobat that's not Dick Grayson. Yes. Boston Brand.
Dead Man. I love Dead Man so much. There was a Neil Adams Dead Man that came out, I don't know, a dozen years ago, half dozen years ago, something like that. That was so great. I'm so excited for W. Maxwell Prince's take on this character.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't know what to expect from it. And that's the part that has me excited because I know they're going to do it good, but I couldn't even begin to fathom. And these covers give me no idea what to expect. But if you're not familiar with Dead Man, this could be a great way to jump in. And if you love it and want more Dead Man, one of the classic tales, the Kelly Jones Dead Man series, is getting a new collected edition with all of the Batman Brave and the Bold collected stories, as well as some of the other amazing tales from Action Comics Weekly and the one-shots Dead Man, Love After Death, and Dead Man Exorcism. Like, not things I expected to see collected again. I to be honest, am shocked we're getting new Dead Man, but I am also all for it because I will always be a fan of Boston Brand. And I mean, you know, for me, there is very few characters I would love more on a new Justice League Dark than Dead Man. All right. Fun one also in the way of unique comic storytelling. How about Declaration Emancipation Illustrated? You might recognize some of the familiar faces on this. Everything from Family Guy to Rugrats in reference with the classic tales of American history. I think this is going to grab a lot of people's attention, both in nostalgia and new readers. Then, celebrating the anniversary of Devil's Due, the 25th anniversary, the Mercy Sparks ongoing series gets a brand new #1 reprint with new covers and a Marvel-style frame of Devil's Due characters. Some absolutely amazing pieces. And with word still out of a potential Mercy Sparks movie, a great way to dive into this. This was the 2013 #1 that is getting reprinted for the 25th anniversary. Absolutely great covers, and also a perfect way to tie into the upcoming Club Nephilim. All right. Mega Man fans, everyone's favorite villain gets a one-shot comic. One I would never guess, but I'm also all in for. Dr. Albert Wiley, a.k.a. Dr. Wiley, is getting a one-shot, giving you his side of the epic battles between our Rockman hero. Some great covers available. Again, I never thought I'd need a Dr. Wiley comic. But I'm also very excited because Udon's recent Mega Man comics have just made me realize I need more Mega Man. I wish we had a new video game in my hand already. A lot of great continuing series to pay attention to, but a weird one to add to your collection. If you are a fan of Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein film, currently streaming, there is not only the Frankenstein hardcover, which is going to have inside looks and artwork from the film that Guillermo del Toro directed, but you can get Guillermo del Toro's actual screenplay collected with a new foreword by Guillermo del Toro for the movie. So If you were a fan of the new Frankenstein, some new ways to take in and enjoy and add to your collection. Then we have a lot of Ghost Machine fun this week with the newest trade paperback for Geiger, the newest official guidebook. And shortly after, we're going to be talking about the newest issue of Rook Exodus. But before that, we're going to dive into the Golden Age with some amazing Golden Age classics that you can now get in trade paperback, hardcover, and slipcase form. So take a look through that on the upcoming FOC section of Lunar Distribution. Also get an early chance at Gun Honey, which is on FOC next week. The cosplay trading card polybagged edition is on FOC this week with a bit of a premium price tag. And the rest of the amazing covers will be on FOC next Monday. Hank Howard, as we talked to the great Rob Venditti on FOC this week. We have a lot of great bad ideas that we'll be talking about, as well as the final issue of Harley and Ivy, Life and Crimes. If you want to read, in my opinion, one of the greatest Elseworlds of the modern era, Tom Taylor's Injustice, Gods Among Us, Year One, is now a $10 trade paperback, which is a ridiculously low price for an unbelievable epic. Look, there's been some great Elseworld comics, from Deceased to DC versus Vampires, the Dark Knights of Steel, and so many others. But if we're talking modern Elseworld epics, Injustice, God Among Us by Tom Taylor, I think is one of my favorites. I mean,
Well,
Kyle,
if we talk about comics based on video games, right? Like we just talked about Mega Man,
yeah,
right? Injustice: Gods Among Us was one of the best fighting games of the last 20 years.
hands down.
And Tom Taylor taking on what was a pretty simple game with not a lot of plot, let's be real, and turning it into a comic that was incredibly dense and incredibly well told, featuring the same versions of the characters you were getting in the game, was just the right book at the right time to really kind of kickstart this IP. And I'm very excited to have it now, a compact edition of it, because I'll be honest, carrying around those hardcovers gets heavy.
Yeah, it's quite a few. I know I have a shelf that is currently bowing because of it. All right. So, another fun one. Junk Punch. This is the next Florida cocaine hippopotamus massacre, if you ask me.
How did I know you were going to say that?
Oh, it is the incredible Paul Tobin and Colleen Coover, good friends and amazingly talented comic creators who have brought everything from Small Favors to Banana Sundays to us. Paul has written some amazing all-ages Marvel and Dark Horse books, including one of my son's favorites, Plants vs. Zombies. But this is not for kids. This one is going to be out there as we deal with a future where suddenly bizarre compulsions take over people. Concepts like painting pigeons or having to tell the truth to people you meet on a dating app are weird yet happening. And this young girl has a problem. Clara Castanel suffers from the need to punch people's junk. I can't define it greater on this live stream, but the visuals give it to you with some unbelievably goofy covers. And knowing Paul and Colleen, this will be an absolutely hilarious and visually amazing book. Even though there's a huge part of me that is currently internally tensing from the sheer thought of a junk punch.
I'm going to walk
have to
away
get through
from the obvious joke that you didn't see yourself walking into there. Because I thought it was a microscopic part of you that was scared of it. But anyway, anyway,
Harsh.
no,
Wow, we devolved
this.
the show.
So I already read this.
Talking about junk punch. I get it. We devolved the show.
Yeah, I already read this.
Yeah.
I almost passed out laughing reading this book. Junk Punch is hysterical, guys. Like, Florida cocaine hippopotamus fiasco or whatever it's called is funny. there are a lot of really great, funny books happening right now. You know, Dork is funny. Dungeon Crawler Carl is going to be funny. This book is something beyond that. This book is dangerous in how funny it is, especially if you have as few brain cells as I do that you can afford to lose to choking to death while reading a comic.
Yeah. I will say, I cannot fathom the artwork that will end up on blanks of Junk Punch, and I'm sure they will make me cringe, but I might die of laughter before the pain of what I see on them.
Yeah.
This is the type of cover you want to get to Amanda Connor if you can convince her to do a sketch.
I was literally just thinking Jay Fosgate, but yes.
Ooh, there you go. All right. In something very different, but also incredibly empowering, for Pride Month, we have the incredible combination of Nicole Maines and Jadzia Axelrod bringing us Justice League Dream Girls, a new miniseries with two incredible characters, Dreamer and Galaxy. Now, if you're not aware, Dreamer originally started out in the Supergirl TV series. Tom Taylor and Nicole Maines, who is the actress who played Dreamer, helped bring them into comics. Meanwhile, Jadzia Axelrod brought Galaxy to kids in an amazing DC original graphic novel for all ages that has sold out and been the talk of the YA market. Now, after two incredible graphic novels, the second one having just hit last week, Galaxy and Dreamer are in the main DC universe in Justice League after that recent one-shot that they both brought us, and we now get a mini-series. I am beyond excited about this. This is going to be a great book for Pride, and on top of that, you even get a backup with more Batwoman from Greg Rucka and Claire Rowe. Everything about this, I adore, and I cannot wait for. All right. Another one I'm excited to point out, I will always be a fan of this dystopian post-apocalyptic tale from Jack Kirby, Commandy, The Last Boy on Earth. And now you can have all 40 issues of this unbelievable epic in one hardcover. It truly is an omnibus. It's not broken up into multiple pieces. This is a legendary classic tale. If you've not read it, do yourself the favor. I get the price tag's big at $125, but man, is it worth it. Did you ever read Commandy, Kyle?
Oh yeah, I love Commandy. I even like the Temu Commandy they did about 10 years ago, where it wasn't Jack Kirby's Commandy, it was somebody else, but it felt very Jack Kirby. I have most of the originals in my con inventory, and before I put them in there, I totally read them. I love Jack Kirby writing, basically, Tarzan.
Yeah. Post-apocalyptic Tarzan. It's Tarzan meets Planet of the Apes, but the apes aren't the only crazy animals you're going to run into on that US.
No, it's true. I sometimes think that, like, you think about the New Gods, you think about some of the other stuff that Jack Kirby did that people didn't understand back then. And, like, it becomes this, oh, he knew where we were going 20 years before we did.
Yeah.
And Commandy is one of those, so.
And I mean, we can say that for Jack going all the way back to the 1940s is the crazy thing. But yeah, I mean, his 70s DC work, everything from Jimmy Olsen to Demon, Commandy, OMAC, all just whole other level. All right. One I got to go back to. Mad About DC was a great one-shot of fun jokes that really poked fun at everyone at DC. And I have to buy it all over again with this new second printing Raphael Albuquerque cover, homaging, I want to say, what was that, Flash 123?
Yes.
Beautiful. So.
Jay Garrick is best Flash. Alfred E. Newman, Jay Garrick is best Alfred E. Newman.
There it is. Lots of fun. If you're getting ready for the upcoming Odyssey film, but you're not yet old enough to watch it, Perhaps this great all ages trade paperback featuring Homer's classic, if not epic, poem is going to be the way to go. I know that this is going to be, I'll go see the film in theaters, and my son will get to sit down with this graphic novel, and I will be very ecstatic that we can both talk about Odysseus and the key concepts from Circe to the choice between Scylla and Charybdis. That will be a fun one, and I think that sequential art is the key way to get younger readers into these ancient 10,000-year epics. I think 10,000 years ago is when we proposed the Trojan War existed, if it did. New interesting tale from Keenspot. I don't want to spend too much time on, but I got to bring it up. Pimp Killer, new one from Caden Phoenix and Jazal Omar about a woman who goes around and kills pimps. I mean, makes sense to me. Poison Ivy continuing to be the mayor of Gotham City over in her main title. We get a brand new, I can't believe it's been 20 years, anniversary edition of Pride of Baghdad, the tale of some lions who are wandering around Baghdad after the bombings of Iraq. Beautiful masterpiece by Brian K. Vaughan and stunning artwork by Nico Henriquez. Another one that you will always laugh and you must have if you're grabbing Junk Punch. Power Girl, New Beginnings. It is the classic tales of Terra and Power Girl by the powerhouse creative team of Jimmy Palmiotti and Amanda Connor, not to mention tales by Judd Winnick, Jeff Johns, and more. All of the must-have, fun, mature, and great stories of Power Girl, Kara Zor-El.
That is the best Power Girl story ever written, by the way.
Absolutely. More great PS art books reprinting classic horror from the Gold and Silver Age. We get Radiant Black heating things up. If you are missing Invincible as you await season 5, Radiant Black is the book. Grab the trade, grab the single issues. It is the modern day Invincible. We have all sorts of Red Sonja fun as the new arc continues in a brand new series, number 1 having just dropped this past week. And yes, it's finally here. Rook Exodus, number 10. Jeff Johns, Jason Fabok, absolute epic tales on an alien planet that is falling apart. I love the planet of Exodus, and I love its inhabitants. I wouldn't want to live there, but damn do I love reading about it. Some great covers there. One thing, all right, you complained about classified covers, Kyle. I got to complain about when you have an incredible open order series of covers and then you change them to ratio. Whether it was DC doing them with their D&D style covers on Dark Knights of Steel, whether it is the ratio and then non-ratio and ratio cover of Ron Gonzalez's paper doll covers on Green Lanterns. Royals has done that now. I've been loving the Derek Kirk Kim for issue number 3. We have jumped those from open order covers to 1:10 ratio covers. And that is a bummer. So,
yeah,
still a great series. Derek Kirk Kim and Jacob Perez giving us an awesome Ocean's 11 with a bit of a paranormal twist in South Korea. Fun series. I'm hoping everyone's grabbing Royals right now.
what makes that whole thing worse is that, Derek Kirk Kim is one of the hottest artists going right now. And it almost feels like they're like, hey, we can capitalize on this rather than, hey, we can make a really great offering for our book. It's, let's take more money from retailers because this creator is hot. So we're gonna ratio it.
Yeah. Well, and the bigger thing is, unfortunately, it really hurts the consumer who, if you were collecting issues 1 and 2 like that, now you're going to have to pay a premium to get it. And only a select amount, even in a store that orders hundreds of copies, only a select amount of the audience is going to have access to it. Quite literally, roughly 1 in 10.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Something that is doing it right is always Todd McFarlane. The Spawn universe has been absolutely getting bigger and better every month. And now a new creative team in the way of Matthew Rosenberg and Steven Segovia take over Spawn, taking the reins away from the Todd father himself. And Todd is the one fully supporting it. If you heard a few weeks ago, we had the incredible Matthew Rosenberg talking about this. This is going to be a time jump. Spawn is going to become an interesting tale that is unlike it has ever been, and it is going to be much more a Matthew Rosenberg-driven story, crossing over between Spawn and King Spawn. I cannot wait to see Matthew's take on Al Simmons. This is going to be fun. Then Tom Healy, the wonderful editor in charge of all of the Spawn universe, is going to wrap up a Sam and Twitch tale, but perhaps, hopefully, not wrap up Sam and Twitch, because I'm excited to see Matthew play with these two detectives. Another one I am particularly excited about, Supergirl Survive. It's an Elseworld tale where rather than being separated at the young age, Kara Zor-El must protect her young cousin, Kal-El, to fight against the evil military dictatorship of Zod. This is a very interesting one coming from Ethan Parker and Griffin Sheridan. Amazing interior artwork by Rod Ray. And as you can see from that cover, it is going to be unbelievably awesome looking. I mean, Ethan and Griffin did a unbelievable tale when it came to Kill Your Darlings. I can only imagine what this is going to look like. I'm excited. I am beyond excited about that. You know, this could be our next Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. Then, if you aren't reading Superboy Prime's tale in the main Superman title, Joshua Williamson has been doing an unbelievable job. We have second printings with 3 great covers. As yes, Superboy Prime takes over the Superman main title. Dan Mora and Joshua Williamson, already a powerhouse team. And then you throw in the Superboy from our Prime world. It's going to get fun. I will say that C cover where Superboy Prime is reading Absolute Batman, that is going to sell like nobody's business. Everyone's going to want that cover. And a look of things to come. Again, I don't know how this works, but Supernatural special featuring the Angel Castiel will actually be on FOC next week. Not Monday, May 11th, but Monday, May 18th, I want to say that is. The 1 in 15 is on FOC. Just a reminder, reach out to your local comic shop, get your orders in early, because, look, everyone wants more tales with Castiel. We talked about it with Robert. Tankers, you can grab the trade paperback, and then FOC, the new series, Tankers versus Ancient Aliens. I mean, aliens, folks, aliens. Then we get That Texas Blood, another one. Man, we're having so many crazy things returning after long hiatuses. But Chris Condon and Jacob Phillips, That Texas Blood is back after months, if not, I want to say possibly well over a year off stands. There's a facsimile edition of issue number 1, reprinting that classic tale. Trade paperbacks are aplenty, and you can order them at your local comic shop. And then That Texas Blood comes back with a new storyline, issue 21, on FOC this Monday. A bevy of great covers, including a Luana Vecchio cover. All right. Transformers the movie. I'm sure this is going to work out great for Optimus Prime. Right, Kyle?
Autobots forever.
Autobots forever. Yes, that classic 1980s movie adapted into comic form 40 years ago. Jeez, 40 years ago. That hurts. 40 years ago
Even
by
I feel old.
Ralph Macchio and Don Perlin. is back. I own the original issues, but damned if I'm not going to repurchase this with a stunning Sean Gordon Murphy cover. I mean, I need to convince everyone to order this because I need that 1 in 10 E.J. Sue cover. This is going to be fun. It was a classic tale. This was one of Robert Kirkman's favorite films. I have heard him talk about this movie to no end and how the movie blew his mind. So, of course, now that Robert Kirkman and Skybound have the Transformers right, yeah, they're going to do facsimile reprintings of it. Actually, not facsimile. They didn't dare to use the word facsimile because we're getting beautiful new covers. Oh, this is going to break my heart all over again. Transformers the movie. Can't believe it's been 40 years. Painful thought. Painful thought. All right. The big final one we're going to talk about when we get to our top 10. Let's hop to our top 10 and wrap this all up in time. Kyle, let's cut away. Let's do this.
All right.
All right. So the first one, our honorable mention that I have to talk up, is one of my favorite Matt Fraction stories ever. Well, he's kicking butt right now on Batman. The thing that will always stand out for me was his Image epic, Casanova.
Oop.
Not Tankers.
I'm at the wrong part of the. I had to reset the slide deck. I messed it up.
All right. But
guys, the amount of technology that goes into making me look this incompetent is hysterical.
Oh. But Casanova was an early Matt Fraction comic series. I want to say spinning out of the old Warren Ellis forums. This amazing tale featuring the brothers Fabio Moon and Gabriel Baugh told a tale of a James Bond-esque agent hopping between the multiverse to destroy the multiverse. This is absolute Matt Fraction at his best. Whether you love sex criminals or Batman, this is the must-read Matt Fraction tale. And now it has a $40 compendium with everything. The first 4 Casanova stories, all of those volumes, and hopefully, in my mind, that means the potential lead into more tales of Casanova. This is out there. This is crazy. This is as indie as it gets in the far tale of storytelling and is a must-have and therefore our honorable mention before we dive into our top 10. Then, as we hit our top 10, of course, I have to bring up the Invincible team-up variant. It's late, but it means it is all the more relevant as you guys wrapped up the Viltrumite War in Season 4 of the cartoon. Rook Exodus number 10, the Jason Fabok approach of Battle Beast, and Rook Exodus. Then we go to Justice League, Dreamgirls, the Pride event. I think this is one of our first truly well-presented traditional comics with Galaxy. She has appeared before in comics, but this is the big one with Galaxy and Dreamer. I am super excited about this. Spot number 8. It is the new Venom outfit with Venom MJ. I can't pronounce it the way that people
Venom J.
Venom J. There you go. Edgy Curry does a stunning depiction of the new Venom costume, rocking the red hair as Mary Jane does. Then J. Scott Campbell, Black Cat number 11. Look, stealing is one thing you don't want to do around Frank Castle because he'll kill you for it. But stealing,
he's all right with this one.
What was that?
He's all right with this one. He's all right with this one.
I'm all right with it.
I mean, look who's wearing his shirt. He's all right with this one.
I'm just going to throw it out there. The legacy of Frank Castle, a.k.a. Punisher, and people stealing the Punisher logo doesn't bode well.
Well, she's going to give it back to him later. Like, he's okay with this one.
I mean, I'd let her keep it. Then we get Spawn 376, the new creative team, Matthew Rosenberg, Steven Segovia. Go back and watch the interview we did with Matthew a few weeks ago. It was great. This is going to be epic. Start of a new creative team and a new storyline and a new time period for Al Simmons.
quickly on this one, I just want to point out something. Don Aguilo was on SketchUp with Mel and Mog on the EXP months ago, before the announcement that Rosenberg was taking over on Spawn, and hinted at this on that show because he was working on this cover at the time. So it pays to watch some of our other shows to find out these little tidbits of information ahead of time.
Absolutely. It always pays to just watch Mel and Mog. They're incredibly talented. Well, Mog is an incredibly talented artist, and Mel is an incredibly talented host, and they bring in some amazing guests. All right, number 5, the Gilliam March Supergirl Survive cover. It's very Lone Wolf and Cub, very Mandalorian-esque, and I am all about this. Everything about this just looks stunning. It's got kind of an Amanda Connor vibe. I'm not going to deny it. Gilliam March kicking butt with this. Then Jay and Silent Bob, Jay's of Future Past, the incredible Phil Noto homage to Mallrats, which we all now know is where this idea originally was pitched to Stan Lee. Of course, Spider-Man taking the role of Stan Lee on that movie poster. Martin Morazzo doing Dead Man has me excited. Martin Morazzo doing a foil cover, because let's face it, Martin and Maxwell Prince are known for some gimmicky things. They made a comic into a trading card deck. A foil cover, perfect and par for course. I'm all about this. Then Junk Punch. Look, this book is already brilliant, and I think will be the next Florida Cocaine Hippopotamus Massacre, or Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre, whatever it's called. The Merc Andolfo cover was the big cover to have on this. Don't think the Merc Andolfo cover on Junk Punch isn't going to be the cover to have on Junk Punch. I just got to say Junk Punch 3 times in a row. But then here's the big number 1. This is the book to get. X-Men fans, you've been waiting for it for decades. John Byrne, yes, the legendary John Byrne, is back on X-Men. And it's not a Marvel book per se. It is Abrams. Abrams is bringing us the Marvel Arts X-Men Elsewhen. This is something crazy. Even my son's grandfather has reached out to me to grab this book. This is a new original graphic novel hardcover that has brand new John Byrne writing and storytelling, continuing the 1984 storyline that John Byrne left. Following the Dark Phoenix saga, we get brand new Byrne 80s tales. Look at Young Kitty Pryde. Look at the original X-Men there. Look at that stunning Byrne artwork of Wolverine versus Sauron. Everything about this revives the nostalgia of something I long accepted I would never in my life get again. The all-new, all-different John Byrne era of X-Men returns. $40 hardcover. Not ordered through Penguin Random House. You order it through Abrams or Lunar Distribution. So tell your comic shop to get this order in. You're not going to want to miss this. It's huge. All right, Kyle. You've already talked about some fun that we're going to see on the comics art experience later today. What else do we have on the EXP?
Well, like we talked about earlier in the show, we've got the original art experience later with Mark Bagley art and a Wolverine cover from some people, from other artists you may know. Then Nancy will have her vintage and request show, as always, Friday Night Live at 9 p.m. Eastern. Then tomorrow at a TBA, time to be announced, I will be doing a live sale where nothing will be more than $5, including some great Conan Saga Marvel magazine editions and some Curtis horror. Nothing will be more than $5, even if it's worth more than $5. I'm not doing math. So we're going to do that show tomorrow afternoon here on the EXP and on Comic Book Shopping Network. And then following that show will be Miss Jen's long-running comic sales show that will be both here on the EXP and on Comic Book Shopping Network Saturday night. Her show starts at 9 o'clock Eastern, so mine will probably start around 6:30 Eastern. So be prepared for those things. And we will see everybody go at those shows. And then next week, it's a full week here at the EXP as I prep for convention, but it's a big time right now. So be prepared. We may have a big announcement Monday or Tuesday about something that, well, I am not sure I'm allowed to announce or even talk about yet. So we'll see.
Awesome. And then we will be back on Friday with more books on Final Order Cutoff. I can't tell you the guests we'll have next week, but next week I can definitely tell you the guests we'll have on the 22nd, which will be amazing. So tune in. We're going to have more comics. And as always, reach out to your local comic shop with the books you want, the covers you need, so that way they can guarantee them waiting for you. The sooner you let them know, the better. Thank you guys all for watching, and we'll be back next week.